Good morning, everybody. This is Steward Washington. I apologize for my hoarse voice. And hopefully you can hear me clearly. This is the 39th Annual Conference on Mental Health and the Black Community. And this is the, actually yesterday was the first day of events. As you can see in the itinerary, if you have one, we forwarded a request to local churches, especially those focusing on the African-American community, with a suggested list of biblical scriptures that was researched by the late Joan Turner, who was the host of WCGL. And we forwarded that list to local ministers and requested of them to do a morning service on those scriptures. All those scriptures were dealing with mental health. Biblical scriptures were dealing with mental health and mental illness. And I did get a response from one church, which was Reverend Roger Williams' church, Philip Cousins, that did do that. So I feel good about that. This is the second year we've done that. We never know who does it, but the idea is to begin to create relationship with the faith community, which is a big part of what we're trying to do. And also help us to begin to work toward reducing stigma that exists in most Bible belts. So with that, the event started yesterday. And today, we have the first actual session that's really designed to put on social media and to service those participants who are on, but to put it on social media to stream. We want the entire conference during the week to be streamed to the community. In the itinerary, it pointed out that we're introducing 5 concepts. This entire conference was set up to introduce empowering Jacksonville African American communities. What that is, real briefly, is a group of mental health professionals, including myself. We've been working over the years providing these education services to the community. This will be our 39th consecutive, that means unbroken, conference, sponsored by Northwest Behavioral Health Services. It began with the Mental Health Association, and then Northwest, in its 5th year, took on the responsibility of guaranteeing as a sponsor that the conference would happen each year to continue educating African Americans and other people of interest who are underserved on how to receive and take advantage of mental health services. So that's what the goal is to educate folks to use mental health services so we can be viable and productive. Now with that, the conference is dedicating the entire week to 5 pillars. And what I mean by that, empowering Jacksonville underserved communities was developed as a concept and a strategic plan that was developed beginning about a year ago among a group of professionals that's concerned with what it is we need to do different to move this community, these underserved community, particularly the African American community, out of from the position it's in, lack of services and high in every aspect of health and behavioral health disparities. What we continue to do to empower the people in those communities to improve their quality of life. So that's what the plan is all about. And we identified 5 areas. And I'm going to walk through the 5 areas real quickly. And then we're going to talk about the first one today only. The itinerary is very detailed. If you don't have it, we will leave my email address so you can get it. And you can go to each one of those sessions. In fact, we have another one tonight. All of them are virtual, except one, and we'll talk about that later. So all you have to do is punch. Hopefully we will have better success than we have logging in today with these computers, but all you have to do is punch and come on. So today we're going to begin with, I'm going to walk you through the 5 pillars, and then we're going to begin with the first one. Community development is one area where we know that the community is having problems because the communities are blighted, totally underserved, undernurtured. The business communities, the health communities, all of these issues in those communities are down. So we need to develop in our strategic plan, we need to develop, and we have addressed it, to develop and plan that the community will have input in to how we can improve the business district, that is the economic development piece, how we can improve our next one, which is education. We do know illiteracy is high in those areas, and we do know that in addition, literacy is high among children and adults, and that impacts on a lot of different things. But our idea is to develop a strategic plan to improve our education outcomes among adults and children. And if you come on to the education component, you're going to find out what we're doing. The third one is we're dealing with economic development in a different kind of way because of the nature of the conditions in the community. Unemployment is higher than the national average among African Americans in Jacksonville. And because of the areas I just mentioned a few minutes ago, illiteracy, lack of education, training, and those kind of things, people cannot find or hold employment. And this is a nationwide issue, especially in communities of color. So we're approaching unemployment through entrepreneur and job training. And we will talk about how we're going to do that tonight in those sessions. So I just went over so you won't be confused. Community development, education, economic development. The third one is family preservation. And that's self-explanatory. The families are divided because of the other 3 issues. And we have a lot of crime and violence and incarceration and those kind of things that really impact on our community. And what we want to do in family preservation, we have an evidence-based model. And there was a good program in Jacksonville previously called community engagement with African-American families that we're going to reintroduce and involve the faith-based community in developing a strategy that will help us piece our families back together so they will be vibrant and strong. The faith community is going to be a big part of this. And we're asking the faith community, we're trying to, in our strategies, we are working at getting the ministers to open these churches so we can provide these services in these churches because we have another serious problem of education. And I know this sounds overwhelming because it was overwhelming to us when we identify these areas. And that's why we have a strategic plan. Now, we're not going through the plan in the conference. If you want a copy of the plan, I'm going to leave contact information where you can get a copy of the plan, because we do have a strategic plan, and we have a summary of the plan, and we have a PowerPoint. You can get 5-10 minute PowerPoint that you can walk through and develop some ideas of your own and contribute those ideas to this plan. This plan is designed as a bottom-up concept. What we mean by that is we have developed a roadmap that's laid out these 5 pillars. And the roadmap to these 5 pillars will be completed by community input. In other words, we form units or committees, and the community is going to actually provide input who, what, where, why, and when to each one of these areas before we implement it. Because one of the things we discovered as we worked during the year was that one of the biggest problems is we have a lot of programs in that area over there. We talking about Health Zone 1, if you're not familiar with it. 5 pillars. I think we finished talking about the 5 pillars. Community development, economic, well, actually it's employment, entrepreneur. The third one is health, education, family preservation, and we have discovered, we have walked through all of them except health. And the one on health is dealing primarily with behavioral health, or most people know it as mental health, and medical or physical health. And we're going to talk about that when we get to that session on that day from an integrated health perspective. So those are the 5 pillars or the 5 areas where we know in the community that if we find a way, which is what this conference is all about, to engage the community, that is, get them involved in the decision making of how we design these programs and provide these programs for them, we can empower the community to improve its standards of living in those 5 areas. So after the conference, we're going to come back throughout the year and develop the details to this blueprint we call the strategic plan with the community input, how we're going to make this work. Now, we've been working on this for a year, and we've been working the hardest part of this, and we know this, but we have to overcome it, is how to get our community and the people with the resources in and around our community to come together to make this plan work. Now, there's a core group of us that's dedicated to make this happen regardless. We've been doing this over 40 years and haven't gotten the results, but we're not going to give up to get it done. So with that little introduction of the 5 pillars or the 5 areas of concern that we have in improving quality of life for the community, today is all about one of them. And we'll stop. I'll try to do this real quick because I don't want to run out again and have us to come back in. So I'm going to introduce the community development part is basically what it says it is. And we have included 2 major components in helping us to develop the community into the kinds of programs that we want to make happen. One of them is called social justice, and the other one is called youth. We lost our presenter on the youth. So after Jackie Nash, who is chairing the Social Justice Committee, and I'm supporting her in that effort, she's going to give you a brief about the Social Justice Committee, what it is, what we've been doing, where we plan to go, and then we do the same thing with the youth, and then we open it up for discussion. What we want you to do, hopefully, to overlook all these problems we have and to get involved, find something of interest, and send us back a request to get involved. We'll put you on the merger list and invite you to these various meetings. So with Jackie, if you want to begin with that, we'll walk through social justice. Are you there?
Just a minute. Good morning. Thanks for being here. I almost wasn't here. I finally got in, and I am kind of flabbergasted right now because I had such a hard time. But I am glad for those of you that are on the call, and most of you that are here know what we are doing because you're involved in the social justice program. Um, we started it 2 years ago, working on at my church, working on social justice issues, and so he allowed us to have a ministry for social justice. And when Steward and I started working on the Ejuaac, we put the social justice ministry, which is a ministry that we were trying to get faith-based organizations, churches, and other organizations to join with us to begin to address the issues in Jacksonville and surrounding areas if it comes to that. But we partnered with the social justice ministry at First Timothy partnered with Ejuaac, and also we were already involved with Ejuaac through the Association of Black Social Workers in Jacksonville and several other um, organizations. Our goal was to get the faith-based communities involved in addressing most of the issues that are impacting our congregations, to become involved in working toward coming up with solutions that would help you, that would help them. We also wanted to try and start working on, and I don't know whether I'm the only one that notices this, but we wanted to start working on faith-based communities, the churches, and kind of specifically African American churches working together on the issues that were impacting all of our congregations and stop us from being in silos where, and I'm going to just use a church on one corner and a church on the another corner is working on the same issue, but they are working in separate uh, churches. When if we could pull all of us together and we work on the issue, we have more impact when we go to City Hall, when we start to work with national stuff. Numbers matter. So when we say we got 10, 15 churches joined together, and we are working on the same thing and using our people to work on the same thing, we get more done. We as a powerful force, when we go down to City Hall and 15 churches show up down there with some of their congregation talking about an issue, we have some impact. We started to work on this. COVID hit us. We are back now trying, even though COVID is still running rampant, we are still trying to work on pulling our faith-based communities together so that we will have a bigger voice. And with a bigger voice, we can make some changes. I want to ask this question, and I want you to put in the chat. And Tori, if you can let us know what's coming in, whoever the host is, can let us know what kinds of things are coming in when I give you the thing. What kind of issues do you think are impacting our community, are impacting you? Put those in the chat. And what I'm going to do is try to walk us through what we as a social justice ministry or committee can do. can how we can come together and make that work. But while you putting in the chat what you any issue, and my favorite issue of all is registering people to vote and having them understand what their voice means if they are registered to vote and how important it is for their voice to be heard. So that's one of the issues that come to us is the fact that if you are not registered to vote, you get what you get because you have not used your voice to do what to vote to be able to say I want this person because she's going to look at the issues that impact me. So that is the kind of things that social action um, will do. I got
Ja-
go ahead.
Jackie, could you, Tori, so we won't run out of time, make us aware of how much time we have left so we can get everything in.
Okay.
And then if we can't respond to the questions in the chat room on this chat, we will respond to them and we will run this on social media and we're going to respond to your questions and get answers back to you. So Tori,
But
just let
the
us know what our time looks like.
what I'm trying to help you to understand is the importance of identifying the issue, and then we are working to develop a plan on how we are
Right.
going to address the issue. And everybody, all the advocates come in. Our goal when we set this ministry up was establishing a consistent and sustainable collaboration of advocacy with faith leaders, community leaders, and advocates, just advocates off the street that want to work on an issue. That is what the social justice ministry is all about, is getting on the issue. Also, educating our people the importance of being involved, letting us know, getting the church to come around the issues, and we work out a way to make it work rather than us working in the different silos. That is a major issue for us. When you go back to your church, go back so that you talk to them about getting involved in the social action ministry and start to build it up where we will be able to address the issues that you brought up. One of the things I saw in the chat was violence. Um, the It's important that we get the church involved in our children being killed in the street, our people being killed. What can we do about it? I can't come up with everything with just one person, but if we came together as a group, we would be able to address that issue. The other thing that's on is that we really need to look at is how do are we going to get the churches or the faith-based groups pulled together and begin to work together? And that is an issue that we're working on in the social justice ministry right now. If you're interested in joining, we are open to your joining with us and come help us come up with ways to address these issues. But Ejuaac, our major goal is to improve our community, and we can improve our community through your coming and bringing somebody with you and working with, not just being on the committee, but working on the committee and looking at helping us look at this is what we need to educate our people. When we have elections, people come out and usually they vote if somebody is a Democrat or if somebody is black or white or whatever. They come out, I know them, I like them. But have we really researched to find out what they have done that for the issues that impact me? And we need to teach our people about that part of voting, not just come out because somebody tell you go out and vote for such and such. They may not even be interested in your issue. So our goal as the social justice ministry is to educate our people on how to do that, how to get them um, involved, and how to find out whether or not that's the best candidate and start to look at that. You wanted to say something?
I was going to ask Tori, how much time do we have?
It doesn't alert us, but it looks like we have at least 20, 25 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So that is where we are. The issue, one of the issues was about violence. I'm not sure. I think, and the other one, somebody else put in being more present in these communities. And that is part of what we have been doing. There are some places and people we got to advertise about the social justice ministry. And the other thing that we will be doing is we will be inviting people to come and be a part of the social justice ministry. We will be getting with other organizations so that we can uh, work with them on the issues that impact us. We can, as a group, say, we're going to work on voters registration. We're going to work on the violence in the community, and we join with other groups and invite them to join with us.
Okay.
So that is part of what the social justice ministry is basically about. But if we continue to be complacent and expect other people to do what we need to do for ourselves, we are going to continue to be in the place that we are right now, with our children being shot down on the street, families going to bed at night hungry. Those are all social justice issues.
Okay, Jack, I want to try to leave a few minutes so they can have some input. So,
Okay, I think I'm finished.
okay, what I wanted to do is make sure the Social Justice Committee, the issues that Jack is talking about is how we're going to bring the community in to these 5 pillars that I talked about, education and the other ones that I talked about. And the Social Justice Committee is going to provide the advocacy for each one of those pillars. If we're dealing with unemployment, if we're dealing with training, if we're dealing with family preservation, if we're dealing with health, whatever issues come up, that's what this committee is organized around the church to do. And that's why she's making the emphasis of the key to it is to get people to come out these silos, to get the ministers, your outreach ministry programs. This is a doing project. So we need people to come to these meetings that we're going to hold to get this work done and to put the rest of this plan together. Now, the other part of community development, the young man had a crisis this morning, so he couldn't come on. His name is Winston Seymour. And Winston is a very outspoken young man in the community who has organized youth input programs to advocate for their own needs. We are going to have a youth division that's going to tell us from the youth perspective what it is they need. One of the problems we have in the community is everybody, including us sometimes, bring programs for people, seniors, youth, and whatever, and never ask their input. Well, EJUAC is not going to do that. we're going to ask, we have a global blueprint. We're going to the youth. In fact, tomorrow we have a session over at Blue Cypress with the kids, where we're going to introduce the concept to them, and they're going to create a division that's going to inform the other parts of Ejuaac what to do. I didn't mention it, and I'm remorse in doing that, is Northwest Behavioral Health Services is the sponsor of this project. If you don't know about Northwest Behavioral Health Services, we put it out. They have a website. I think it's nwbh.net. We just changed the website. So we'll put the address, the email address out there. But they have been sponsoring this program for the last 25 years, making sure that we do it, that it's free and open to the public. Now, back to the youth project, what we would like to do, for you to do, if you know, we haven't put the program together yet, but Winston has been developing a concept that they're going to roll out in the early part of January of what would be the youth strategic plan. And that question Jack had just asked, what kind of input, what do you need? That's what we're going to ask you. And if you had your way, how would you do it? And they're going to advise us, and that advisement is going to the strategic plan. We have a unit that's going to develop the resources for this, grant writers, fundraisers, and those kind of things, who's going to take this plan and figure out how to fund it, how to get resources. Now, the other committees, the pillars I'm telling you about, and I'll give you a few minutes to respond, especially the people who put something in the chat room. We want to be sure that whether you're an adult, whether you're a child or whatever, that some kind of way we have a process for you to give input that's meaningful and see the results of what happens. So in doing that, we will have a positive Ejuaac that will measure these programs. We got some exciting things in some of the other workshops to tell you, but we're not going into them today because of community development. Now we want to leave a few minutes. I know this was convoluted, and we appreciate y'all taking the time, working with us and being patient with us trying to deal with this technology. Does anybody have some input before we run out of time? We want to at least give you some time. You have some questions you want to ask about social justice. You want to ask about the 5 pillars, or what it is you might be wanting to do. This is the time to do it. Take your phone off mute.
We have 5 minutes left. Well,
So
now
this is
we
your
have
time.
less than 3 minutes.
So the person who had the issue in about violence, I'll take the time to tell you, Thursday night, we have a committee that's going to build a trauma center on the north side. Look at your itinerary. That's Thursday night. If you're interested in health, that is a program we're doing in concert with the Deltas. That's Wednesday night. Look at your itinerary. All of them start at 6 o'clock. And I'm going in to make sure we don't have the problem we have today, to make sure that those Zoom links work properly. If you want to know about education, that's tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. If you're interested in the youth program, there's an address in the itinerary, Blue Cypress Park, University Boulevard North, right at University Club, where the kids are going to be out there all day tomorrow. We're going to provide youth services for them. So, and tonight is economic development, where we're going to deal with employment, entrepreneur, in concert with the NAACP. Please, folks, help us to make this thing work. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
One of the things that, for those of us that came on late for the thing, I just want them to know what the EJUAC, the letters, empowering, what is the total name of it?
Look at your itinerary. On the face of the tornado, you're going to see empowering Jacksonville underserved African American communities.
Okay.
That acronym is EJUAAC. And that's what Jack is pronouncing Ejuaac.
Okay. The other thing is, there was some comments in the chat, and one of them is being more present in these communities, and I totally agree with that. And as part of the social justice committee, a ministry, that is something that we will be doing in the future. We have um, we have done 2 community revivals to address the issue of what COVID has done to families that have lost relatives and that kind of thing. So we have also done that. We being out in the community, trying to pull the community together.
Now, real quickly, because we out of time, my email address is S as in Sam, T as in Toy, E as in W as in Washington. That's Stu, 1414 at bellsouth.net. I'll repeat it, STEW 1414 at bellsouth.net. If you send me an email, my cell phone number is area code 904-703-6532.